Hey guys, so we're going to create a double exposure effect with a landscape and an animal. It's kind of a cool effect with the landscape inside of the animal, kind of ethereal. You can use several images inside of the animal if you wanted to, more than one, but in this demo, for the purposes of the demo, we're just going to start with one image, or two images working together instead of like 3 or 4 or 5. But it's possible to do it with more. So you'll be able to like kind of learn how to work with screen modes on layers. We're also going to maybe try clipping the bison out in class, like using a different bison, because this bison JPEG is actually already on a white background, but sometimes you might get an image that doesn't have the bison on a white background, so I want to show you how to add that white background to any image. So you can take your own photos and then use them in this technique if you wanted to, but you know, some of the work has been done for us, I guess, is what I'm saying on these two images. But anyway, definitely download the double exposure JPEGs here, and then we'll go into Photoshop. We'll open up the bison first. So I already have it loaded, but you would do a file open. So file open, and then you would find the bison in your downloads. So bison, and then open. And then you do a file place embedded. You could also do a place linked. The difference is place embedded, if you end up changing the placed file, it won't link up to the newly saved file. It'll stay the same if you go with place embedded. If you go with place linked, it's a linked file. So whatever you do to that file that you've placed, if you save over it, change the color, that will update in your document, this document. So I like to do embedded, so I don't get any surprises, I guess. But there's certain applications I think for place linked. But I think we'll use place embedded, and then we'll do snow JPEG. Place that in. So this is fairly large, but we can. It comes in ready to resize. You can see the blue X. If you accidentally push return, or if you just push return, the X disappears. You can do another Command T to get that X back. Command T is really important. That's one thing you're going to want to remember. That's for transform. It also allows you to rotate if you wanted to rotate this. You just have to kind of finagle your way to the corner, and then you'll get this double arrow icon here, and you can rotate it a little bit, which I don't want to rotate it. And you can see the degree at which you're rotating. You can push shift to help you get it back to 0. Otherwise it gets kind of hard. Okay, so let's change the blending to screen. So these are the blending modes here. Make sure you have the snow layer selected. So we're going to work with that, and we're going to go to screen. And then we're going to change the opacity of this layer to, I don't know, like a little bit less, I guess. Still want to be able to see it, but maybe like 76% or something. Screen, there's also like other options, but screen seems to work really well for this. You can play around with some of these if you want, but screen is the one we're going to use. We can unlock this just in case. If we wanted to lock it again, we can just click the lock icon on and off. We can also click it here. But let's get back on the snow layer. Let's go ahead and control click, or you can also just click on it and go to the hamburger menu in the upper right corner of the layers panel. And we can go to rasterize layer. We want to make sure we rasterize it because it comes in as a smart object, and we don't want it to smart object in this particular case. And then we can control click on this, or right click, or go to the stack menu. There's, you know, depending on what kind of computer you have and what you want to do, but I like to control click or right click on it. And then we can go to create clipping mask. And then just make sure you're on the brush. So when you have a clipping mask activated on a layer, you can kind of see the little arrow that gets added. That kind of tells us there's a clipping mask. But we can go on the paintbrush, and we double click on this color here, and we want to make it black. So like if it's green, I can just drag it down into the black area. Here we go. And now it's black. Push OK. So black will reveal. If I switch it to white, so I'll show you that. So if I just start painting black over this clipping mask, you can see that I can start revealing more of the bison. And I can change the flow, the opacity of my brush. I would say opacity of like around 50, flow of around 50 is a good way to kind of just feather in the details that you want to bring in. If you have it up to 100%, it's going to be kind of a harder line. So it is a good idea to change the opacity and flow on your brush, and the black color. Make sure you have that black color loaded. Remember to be on the actual brush tool, not the history brush tool. It's underneath the eyedropper here, so just make sure you're on the brush tool. And I am in Windows Workspace Essentials right now, so I forgot to mention that in the beginning of the video, but I think we all should be set up on the same workspace by now, I'm hoping anyway, but if not, just make sure you double check that. You can change the size of the brush as well here. You know, that might help us kind of feather it out, and then maybe I want to feather out these legs, and I kind of want to bring in some details on the bison on the rear end area, and maybe the back leg a little bit. But one thing with the background photo is, like, I don't really like the placement, so I can use the move tool and just make sure I'm on that snow layer. We can move it up, and that means I'll have to repaint some of the areas of my clipping mask, but that's okay. I can just go back to the brush tool and, you know, add in some of these areas here that I wanted to add. Maybe the hooves a little bit. So yeah, and there is a little bit of a line here that we can just brush out as well from the edge of the landscape image. Okay, so there's that. Then we can also continue forward and add a little bit more color by going here, making sure you're on the snow layer, going to the adjustment layers. They look like a little circle with a half filled in white, and you click on that. That's adjustment layers, and we can go to the gradient option. This is a gradient fill, and we can go through and check. So if we go in here, it's going to look a little different for you guys. These are going to be all closed up. But in the reds folder, we can, I had opened all these to find the right one, but in the reds folder, there is this kind of nice orange to purple that I like to use. If you want that to go away, just click on that again. You know, you can change the scale, you can change it to radial or, you know, angle, reflected diamond, whatever shape, but we're just going to leave it at linear. Smooth can stay the method. You can play around with some of these if you like, but for this is what we're supposed to have it look like. Push OK, and then we want to change this to like a different opacity, and we want to change the blend mode to a different blend mode. I think, is it, let's see, overlay, I believe, is the one I wanted to use. And I think that looks pretty good, but actually I do want to adjust the gradient a little bit, which can be done after the fact, so we just double click on that gradient. And I want to change that angle to 0. And then push OK. And that kind of just makes it more of like just a straight linear from left to right. And I like the purple on the face of and you know, the brighter on the rump of the bison. So I think that's looking pretty good. Yeah. We can even change it more by, you know, if we wanted to change the gradient midpoint, we can do that too. So, you know, maybe I want a little bit more of this pink in here, or maybe I want a little bit more of this, you know, and it does give you a little bit of a live, maybe I want a little bit less of this stuff, or maybe more. Just kind of depends, but you can change the gradient and really customize that a little bit also, so that's also, you know, an option. So yeah, that is basically the gist of the demo. There may be an extra added step to this, clipping the bison out of a photo, like just a regular photo, and then adding in the white background. But for the most part, this is the steps of this demo. So, and then for a grade, just do a file save as. We're just going to save it in that same create a double exposure file, and then name it Mary, your first name, double exposure demo with camel case. we want to save that as a Photoshop file so that I can look at your layers and see that you've done all the work, because if you save it as a JPEG or PNG or any other type of file, I'm just not going to be able to see all your layers and the work that you've done. So make sure you do that and go ahead and push save, and then OK. Then if we go to the smiley face guy, we can go to our downloads, and I'm going to close this up, but you can do a control click on that and compress it. Actually, you don't really need to do that. You could probably just turn in the PSD file, but yeah, the double exposure PSD file would be plenty for this demo. So forget creating a zip file. I kind of got a little confused there, but yeah, the double exposure PSD, go ahead and turn that in for a grade, and that will be this demo. Okay, thanks guys. Bye.